chance to seal it. It's done. It's Georgie Kelly. Rotherham United's pathway back to the Championship is opening up.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast, and there's a wave of positivity coming forward, which was unheard of just a week ago, less than a week ago. But a few signings through the door, and the mood's lifted, to put it that way. We'll go through the signings. We'll go through also the preview of Blackburn Rovers on the early kickoff on Saturday. Danny is still with us. How are you doing, Danny?
I'm all right, thank you. How are we doing, gents?
Very, very well. And Mick returns. Mick, you were missed on Sunday, Monday, whenever we did it. How are you doing?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah. So I understand. I did listen.
Yeah.
I did, yeah.
Okay. Do we not rant enough for you? Is that what it were?
No, you were a bit boring, to be honest. I turned it off halfway through.
Harvey Kellogg with us. Graham Lindley asks how we're all doing. Very good. Martin Holland, Russ Vernon, Dean Cately, Dominic Howard, all with us. Thank you very much for being here. And John Morell says, "Good evening, lads. Mick back from his ban. Nice to see you." We'll see how it goes. Will he last the episode? Who knows?
YouTube prison.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for being with us. If you haven't already, please do subscribe on YouTube. If you are watching on there, if you are not subscribed on there, do subscribe. We're creeping up to nearly 850, aiming for 900 before the end of the season. So I think we can get there. If you all keep doing it, we appreciate. We've had some great numbers from the podcast and the YouTube video over the last month or so. So thank you all for being with us and continuing watching and this episode, even when Rotherham United aren't doing so well. Yeah. But there we go. Positivity. Who would have thought, Danny, we'd be talking with in such positive words? Two central defenders. Well, obviously, the guy from Leeds is a bit more flexible, but Sean Morrison and Leo Yeld, we think it's pronounced, which we'll work on that. How do you feel about? We'll start with Sean Morrison first, because I think we all know a bit more about him, to be honest. On paper, that is a really, really, really good signing. There's caveats with it, obviously, because of injury issues, but that could be an inspired signing, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. It's just another leader at the back and someone who knows the knows the division, should I say, like the back of his hand. Even in the season where he got injured, he still captained Cardiff 11 times out of his 16 in the Championship. So yeah, and he sounds like he's a bit of more of a getting stuck in sort of character. You know, I'm sure a lot of people remember the video of him having to do with Richard Keogh, which did its rounds on social media. Yeah, when we signed him. Excuse me. But yeah, like you said, there are caveats to it. He did spend the entirety of last season and half of this season out injured, which I think I have written down somewhere. Cruciate ligament rupture. So yeah, it's a bad one, that one. But from his interview he gave on iFollow, he said that he has still been in Cardiff's under-23s, so he has still got that little bit of match fitness. Maybe not Rotherham United match fitness like we've come to know over the last few years, but at least he has still been out there getting game time effectively. You know, he's not just been sat having rehab with Cardiff after his contract expired. He has still been getting out there and getting some game time. So that's a bit more of a how do I describe it? A bit more of a minded tease from me with the signing, and apparently he's ready to get called upon for the Blackburn game on Saturday. So happy days.
Yeah, last game was February 2021. I think 6th of February. So it is almost exactly a year. But if you look at his history, Mick, and this is what I tend to look at more, is he's played a lot of games in nearly every single season. This is not a guy who's played 10 games in a season, then not played for a year, and then another 10 games. He's played loads of times. I think it's 8 years at Cardiff. You don't stay at a club for 8 years if you're not doing well. And Cardiff weren't rubbish for most of those periods. Yeah. Ironically, they've just turned rubbish now that he's leaving, which is strange. He took him to the Premier League. He captained them in the Premier League. He's got all the experience you could possibly want. I think Matt Taylor might have mentioned it, or Sean Morris might have mentioned it. It ticks all the boxes.
Yeah, absolutely, and as you said, crucially, boatloads of experience, and hopefully he'll be a part of stopping us being the pansy arse team that we've been for the last 5 or 6 games. Because that's what it needs. It needs somebody who's going to put some boots up some backsides, which sadly Woody's not been able to do in the last few games when he's played. So yeah, I mean, all for it. It's a very, very good signing, assuming we can get into some level of fitness, and that's key. We're not too bad off at the back anyway. I don't think. I'm not convinced that's where the issues have been, albeit defensively we have been poor. I accept that, but the quality back there is at a reasonable level anyway. So anything we can do to strengthen that, fantastic. And this lad clearly fits that bill, doesn't
he? Yeah, he does. Just a couple of stats. He's played 266 times in the Championship, another 50 times in the Premier League. He's had over 50 goal involvements in the Championship in those 266. So not only is he obviously a good defender, Danny, because he wouldn't have played in those games, he's a massive threat aerially, and he has got a brilliant long throw.
Yeah, he does. It'll be interesting to see how we deploy him. Will he be deployed as the long throw man when we're attacking, and how will that fit into him being that aerial threat? Because I think Cardiff released a thank you video on YouTube about it, and we call Richard Wood a wrecking ball when it comes to headers. Well, what on earth, Sean Morrison? He just jumps up, smacks his head on it, and it goes in. He's definitely a goal-scoring centre half, and to have two of them in the same team might prove quite fruitful. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Sean Morrison in a Rotherham shirt. I saw Cardiff fans saying it looks odd in being back in Reds, tying to them playing in red for what was a strange spell. But yeah, 32, good age for a centre half. Like you say, 260 odd appearances. He definitely knows the division. I'm looking forward to seeing him in action. I really am. Want to see what his game's about.
Yeah. And like Mick, he's not. He must be a nice guy. I'm not saying he clearly is a nice guy, but he's got an edge about him. And I think we talk. We a lot of people took the Mickey out of the good human being things, and it worked under the right manager. That works.
Yeah.
But this is now different, and I think it's good to have that bit of needle and that type of leader, just to mix it up a bit as well, maybe.
To have these good human beings, as we've talked about many times before, you've got to have the whole package, and that's from management downwards and upwards as well. Everybody's got to be buying into it. Everybody's got to be invested in it, and the whole environment has got to be settled, and everybody singing from the same hymn sheet. By the very nature of a change of management team, there's going to be an alteration to that atmosphere and that culture, and as soon as that happens, things inevitably will go awry. It's just the way it is. So yeah, I suppose shaking it up and bringing in some new ideas, some new people, some new. I hate using the word vision, but you know what I mean. Some new approach to the culture it can only be a good thing. And when you add that experience in there, because you look at the experience we've got in the team, and it's Woody, essentially. Peltier obviously has come in and brought a little bit, but that's just this season. So yeah, it's great. I love it. I'm seriously impressed with it. But the caveat, like we keep saying, is we've got to make sure he's fit enough.
Yeah. The sort of positive with the fitness issue is we've only got 2 games, and we've got another 2 weeks off. So and I know these are 2 tough games. You've got Blackburn and Watford. These aren't, we're not playing some mugs here. But if you can get through these games with minimal damage, because he's not going to be the only one, you're going to be another player or 2 that we signed that maybe haven't played for a while, then maybe we can ease them in a little bit, Danny. And that's obviously not in Matt Taylor's thinking. That's just how the fixtures have worked out. But it's a little bit of a bonus that we're not playing Saturday, Tuesday at the minute.
Yeah, it is, and it gives Taylor time with the players as well between the fixtures. They talked about maybe having more than 2 in before Saturday's game. It could still happen. But yeah, like I say, it's a good job we're not playing Saturday, Tuesday. It gives some players more recovery time. I think Grant Hall's nearly back, and then Tom Hughes and Georgie are about a week or 2 away as well. So to have a player who is ready to play his part for the team right now, in his own words, it is a big asset. It's not like we've signed him and then it's like, right, we have to break you in easily. If you like, it's a case of, right, you are ready to go whenever we need you, whether it's for 20 minutes at the end or whatever. So to have that sort of player coming in, yeah, we'll have to mitigate it because of his injury. But to have a player that's already like, yeah, put me in because I'm ready, that's another positive to it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We'll have to wait and see. We've got John Morrell says he needs legs around him. I remember from previously he's rather slow. Yeah, I don't think he is the quickest. But that's where Cam Humphries comes in. And maybe Wes is not the quickest, but he's not slow. Maybe you put Wes in and around him. I may be a bit concerned, Mick, if we saw Richard Wood, Lee Peltier, and Sean Morrison all starting a back three. That would be quite a significant concern.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't expect to see that. I would have thought that would be almost a last resort because that would be so slow.
Yeah, it would. It would. Cam Humphries has got to be in there. Wes has got to be in there as well to have that little bit of injection of pace in there. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, we're obviously going to move on to another signing, so we'll also potentially fit into that area. So we don't know about him either, do we? So in terms of pace and everything else, but I would suggest he ain't going to be a 32-year-old barge, the new one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean that to sound like it did, because I'm not saying we've just bought a 32-year-old barge, but you know what I mean.
To be fair, he's only 32, and it's not like he's 35, 36-year-old like Peltier. What's Peltier? 35, 36?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So he's got bags of experience, but he's not like he's still probably got at least 3 or 4 years left in him. Yeah. I know he's only contracted till the end of the season, which is maybe something we'll talk about again in a moment. Let us go through some comments. Shelley FC looks like Morris looking at Morrison's style of play, the nice that guy thing has gone out of the window. Yes, possibly. He might be a lovely guy off the pitch, but I like it on the pitch where I don't like he is. I like that. Right, let's move on to Leo Yelde. Again, I will probably get that wrong quite a lot, but that's what we're going with at the moment. Yelde. It's been very difficult, to be honest with you, to find any information about this guy. He's played 11 games for Ross County, a couple for Leeds in bit part games, been on the bench a few times. I've spoken to Russ Vernon, who knows a bit about Leeds, and he's got a friend who sent him a bit on him. I'll just read out what Russ has sent me because I think it gives us a bit of information. According to it, says, I think this is obviously in relation to Yelder. I think he's ready for it. Physically, he'd struggle. He shouldn't struggle. We'll just be settling into the league and the regularity of men's game every week. Predicted that he'll play on the left of a back three. Don't think he's got it in him to play the Bramwell role a bit further up on the left, but wouldn't expect him to sit back either. This guy hasn't watched any of the Rotherham games, so couldn't tell us whether he'd be an upgrade on Humphries or not. But that's obviously the ideal role that he's coming into. There's quite a lot of excitement on this guy, Danny, and I suppose we've got to be careful because again we don't know much about him, but it looks exciting, to be honest with you, and it looks a bit of positivity.
Yeah, I mean, I will admit the only bits I've seen Leo Yelder are what the club's put out of the training session that was part of, and from that brief little spell I've seen there, he's got very quick feet. He's quite a good distributor of the ball in terms of quick passing round and about the back line. From what I gathered, it looked like he was playing that more of a left back role during the training. Because if you look where Morrison was, he was obviously in the centre too, and then Yelder was on the wide flank, bringing it forward and then dishing it into midfield. But yeah, I couldn't really find much about him either. I think he's got 15 total senior appearances and then 19 Premier League 2-ish appearances as well. And then obviously the handful of stuff that he's played in the academy. But he signed his first pro contract at 15 at Celtic. So he has been in and around the men's game for a fair number of years already. And yeah, like Russ's mate said, he seems ready and up for it. And he's got the very senior defenders to learn from in Woods and Morrison and Peltier as well. So it's going to be a great place for him to learn to be a physical defender. But it looks like he's already got that natural quick feet distribution ability that may help us connect defence and midfields more than just hoofing it.
And again, I agree on that little video. I don't know if you've seen it, but it looked, again, it's just like a 3-second video, but it looked very comfortable. The ball at his feet. The caveat to this would be he's clearly left-footed. Is clearly if he plays in a back three, he's going to play the left-hand side of the three, which we've been crying out for, to be honest with you, because Cameron Humphrey is not naturally left-footed. But if you have Cohen, Bramall, and Yelder together there, that's a massive lack of experience down one side. It's not just you're not one player isolated who's a bit of experience. That could potentially be an issue in terms of working those together. Obviously, Morrison and Woody and Peltier have got to help with that. But that's maybe something that could be something to look out for.
Yeah, without a doubt. And we've gone from one extreme to the other, haven't we? Really, with Sean Morrison and his experience, and then a 19-year-old lad with 12 senior appearances. It is chalk and cheese, literally. But a mate of mine at work was a big Leeds fan. He wasn't aware of this being in the pipeline. I spoke to him about it this morning. We were really disappointed. Really, really disappointed. He was anticipating him making some first-team appearances for Leeds this season. So what that says, I don't know. Looking at some of the comments on social media, again, there was quite a few Leeds fans were hoping, I think, that they were going to see him in a Leeds shirt this year. So he's obviously well thought of. And they haven't paid peanuts for him either, have they? I think 5 million, I think, is the figure I've seen quoted.
I've seen a few. It's in a million. I've seen it at 5. I'll simply find it.
Yeah. So either way, he's a useful addition to the squad. Whether he's going to come in ahead of Cam Humphreys at the moment, whether he's going to have the same quality that Cam Humphreys has got, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. I would hate to see Humphreys kicked out of the team, dropped out of the side at the moment, because he is quality, that lad. He is absolute quality. And as you pointed out, Matt, he's more a right-sided player than a left-sided player, and we've not seen him there yet. So it's going to be interesting to see if he fits both these players into the squad, and whether one of them, the Norwegian lad, whether he's a bit of a back burner initially job. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, there's Jamie McCart as well, who I accept had a bit of a howler in his last game, but that his howler didn't stand out as being particularly bad. Bearing in mind the rest of the team had howlers as well. So there's plenty of options back there now. Plenty.
Heard murmurs that McCart could be on his way out. Now that was about a week ago. I heard those murmurs, and nothing's come of that yet. Let's wait and see. Because we've got a lot of centre backs.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an issue, Danny. That I suppose is it an issue? But I suppose that if you do it this way, it means you can stop playing Wes as a centre back. You can play him as a right wing back. You don't have to play Woody when you don't want to play Woody. You can maybe put Peltier out wide if you want to push him out a bit wide. It maybe gives you more options, and it gives you hopefully something to show, because we've all seen how bad the defending's been over the last month or so. Something needed to change. I know we've got a lot of centre backs now, but it needed to happen. Something needed to happen, and hopefully this is it.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, like you say, we do have a fair few centre backs, but it just allows us to play different methods as well. Like with this number of centre backs, we can shift from a back 3 to a back 4, or vice versa, and it now actually gives us that option. But with Morrison coming in, it gives us more experience at this level, which with McCart and Humphreys and just for an example, don't have. But with Yelder coming in, it's also the backup of the young, hungry player who has got a bit of ability about him. So it's a very nice contrast that we've got there now. we've got the nice contrast of Yelder and Humphreys, who are looking to break out and assert themselves, but then you've also got the experience heads of Wood, Peltier and Morrison to back them up effectively. I've heard the murmurings about McCart heading out as well. Can sort of understand that with the limited game time he's had. The murmurings I've heard is potentially Leighton Orient, is what I've been told. I think bringing these two in will now allow us to look at the rest of it and go, right, can we see if about getting all the players game time as well? And I think that is Matt Taylor's ethos. Is like bringing the ones we need in first before allowing anybody else out, which is quite clever. But also his ethos is we need experience in this division. We need people who've got the fight in them. And so far, I think they've ticked boxes with that.
Yeah, I agree. By my count, we've got 8 centre halves at the club. That includes Wes. We play 3 at the back. So there's going to have to be some movement there. There's no point giving 8 players on books, is there? So if McCart and maybe one of those other ones goes out, I'll be honest with you, Mick. I don't think he fancies Richard Wood, Matt Taylor. I don't think he fancies him one little bit. And that's a shame. But if at the end of the day, the manager's right, unfortunately, we'd all love Woody to carry on for at least another season. But Matt Taylor don't fancy him. Matt Taylor don't fancy him. And I might be wrong, but that's the feeling I get for at the minute.
I absolutely agree with you. I feel exactly the same. And, well, what can you say? He sees him more than we do. Yeah. So if he don't fancy him, he don't fancy him. Let's not get hung up about it. It is what it is. He's been a fantastic servant for the club, and he will spend the rest of this season here, no doubt, and we will see him playing for us again. But I don't think we'll see him playing anywhere near as regularly. I get it. I do get it. I'm not particularly happy with it, but that's more nostalgia rather than nostalgia is not the right word. Sentimental, probably, than anything else, and you can't afford to be that. So it's down to manager, and if manager feels that there are better options, then there are better options. That's what we're going to say.
Yeah. Mike the Miller says, whoever's playing at the back, we can't keep swapping the back line each week. Yeah. We're desperately need unchanged defence won't work otherwise. Yeah, and we might not see that start with Danny because Sean Morris needs to get his fitness up and Yeldon will need to get game time. I suspect February onwards, I hope February onwards, when the games start to come thick and fast again, Matt Taylor will know his best 11 or certainly best 13 or 14 maybe that he's going to use on a regular basis because we've talked about it on podcast quite a lot. We need to see some more consistency, and those players need to play together more and more and more, and that will only benefit them.
Yeah, it will. And I think it's also beneficial to us as a club that we've targeted the defenders first, because obviously they've seen the issue, because into like 23 goals conceded in 10 games or something in that region. So to get 2 centre-backs in before halfway through the window might show the slight focus of sorting out the defence first, and then they can have that little bit of game time starting to gel with each other until the end of the window. Yeah, I see what fans are saying on social media about needing to sign a striker, but when we've got 2 goal scorers, sort of, in Connor Washington and Shio, like that's like, right, okay, so we can cope with that. We can stop it at the back for now, and then we can look at centre forwards later on. Like not later on, just like focus on centre backs first, and then in the next couple of weeks focus on to your midfielders and your centre forwards. So I can sort of see the game plan that's there for the transfer window, and so far we've ticked boxes, like I've said. And from what I've heard from a couple people, is we might be getting a centre forward in next, potentially. Yeah. Potentially. I won't mention who has told me that, so it might not happen, so don't shoot the messenger. But yeah, centre forward might be next. But I'm quite happy we've gone for the defenders first.
Might be.
Focus on that, and then off we go.
Let's wait and see. I think I get what Matt Taylor's trying to do. I suspect it it might not be. It might have tried to send them all at once, and only these got through gate. We obviously don't know about that. Yelder does come from pedigree, Mick. His father, John Olva Yelder, who's played for Forest in the 90s, 157 appearances for Forest. Anything on that?
Means nothing to me, mate. The name didn't mean anything to me. The second name, obviously there are European players whose names stand out from what you can remember from the past few decades, but that's not one of them for me, I'm afraid.
Okay.
But then my own name, I struggle to recognise at times. So you know what I mean.
He played 157 times for Forest, 59 times for Mansfield as well. He also played in South Korea as well, interestingly. But a bit of family pedigree in there. Take from that what you will. A couple of comments. Shelley IFC says, good news for the change of lads. Both of them look strong additions. John Sims says, good evening. Some good signings coming through. Am I right in thinking signings after tonight won't be registered to play in time for Sunday?
I think it's 12 o'clock. Yeah, 12 o'clock Friday. Yeah.
So loans and free transfers are different. I think loans are midday the day before. I'm not sure about free transfer whether they can be done closer to the time, but they are different. Danny, you're the bloody journalist, so I'll leave that to you to somehow find out.
I'm the same boat with you. I think it's 12 o'clock for permanents and loans for the whole registration thing to go through. But if the complete free agents where they haven't been released by a club this month, and they are complete free agents. For example, I'm not saying we're signing this person, but for an example, say, I don't know, Danny Rose, for example, he could come and sign up until 5 the day before, I think, because he's just without a club at all. But to use the Sean Morrison example, if he'd have come in on Friday, he would have had to have been registered with us before 12 o'clock for him to play a part against Blackburn.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. How mad are you, okay? Do you think Morrison shops at Morrison's?
No, he shops at Asda.
If I were him, I would never go to Morrison's in my life because you'd never enter it, would you? You get one person that sees you in there and it's on Twitter forever.
Although it is a very easy sponsorship opportunity, isn't it?
That's true.
Morrison shops at Morrison's.
Yeah. I don't know if there were many Morrison's down in South Wales. It might be different now up here. It's probably a northern thing, isn't it? It feels like it anyway. Let's move on. We're not going to cover all the transfer rumours because there's about 50, to be honest with you. The names and stuff we've heard over the last week or so. Some have obviously, two have obviously signed. The rest obviously hasn't. So let's go from there. Let's see what happens. We've got a game to talk about. Let's preview the game. I'm going to start with Ref Watch to ruin everybody's evening or morning whenever you listen to this. No. The referee is Dean Whitestone.
Oh.
If that rings a bell to you, it should. He's the one that didn't give the penalty on Chio against Norwich. Along with many, many other incidents in that particular game. He had a stinker, I'm afraid. Look, the positivity is I don't think it can be as bad as again. It was horrific, wasn't it? It wasn't just a bit bad, were it? It can't be a professional referee and perform like that consistently. So
he's in Championship, Matt. He's in the Championship. Of course, he can. It's one of the qualifications for being a Championship referee to be that consistently bad. It's part of the application process. Were you not aware?
We have had him in the past where he's been quiet and we haven't noticed him. The concern is we're playing against another team, Blackburn, who have history for being a bit soft. Some of their players going down, which is obviously what Norwich are famous for. There we go. Sorry, everybody.
Oh, dear.
Team Whitestone, everybody.
We should have led with that and then talked about the signings.
We should. For my record, for my research, we are 4 unbeaten at home to Blackburn. Last loss was I think Steve Evans was in charge of the last defeat. That's how long ago it was. So a decent enough home record. But Danny, it was 2 months ago, 3 months ago. We went to Ewood Park, and I think Matt Taylor's second game, I think it was, and put up another defensively a shambolic performance. So now would be a good time with these new players to maybe show the progression of what we can do with Matt Taylor's players. I don't know how to put it.
Yeah, that performance against Blackburn wasn't good. I think Taylor admitted himself that he got that one wrong in the post-match. It could motivate him and the players to improve on that performance and really knuckle down and get something out of it. Like people said in the comments, it is on Sky, so I'm making sure it's recorded. So we might get a result out of this one. But yeah, it's going to be a very, very difficult game, isn't it? Because have Blackburn drawn a game yet?
Don't think so, no.
First time for everything. 0-0 draw, first time for everything. But yeah, it is going to be an hard game. Blackburn are a team that have properly got themselves together this season. They either go out and win or just don't. There's no in between with Blackburn. Yeah, like you say, they do have a little bit of a rep, and possibly more this season, of being a bit more inclined to be fouled, shall we put it, rather than saying they're a bit soft. They're more inclined to be fouled. If Mr. Whitestone,
why are you beating around bush, Danny?
Because it's the proper way to put it, Mick. They're inclined to be fouled. They're a bit like Jack Grealish. Is more inclined to be fouled rather than just saying, "Oh, he falls over."
Cheats is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically. So we'll have to mitigate that, and with players getting it on at the referee, for example, you show Morrison's and such, it might actually be beneficial to us because the ref will go, actually, you never know. But yeah, first game of Matt Taylor's signings, so it'll be interesting to see where he puts Yelder and Morrison into that team if they are ready to be in the team.
Yeah, Blackburn stats are pretty incredible, to be honest with you. 26 games, 14 wins, 12 losses, 0 draws. They sit third with a goal difference of 0. It's just crazy. Obviously,
the literal definition of swings and roundabouts in football.
It's mad. They won their last league game. They also they beat Norwich in the FA Cup. They did lose the 3 games prior to that. Yeah, strange, really, really strange. I can't recall stats like it at this stage in the season, to be honest with you, in terms of draws. It's strange, very, very strange. But let's wait and see what happens. Ardrak says it's the bank of Blackburn's first draw of the season.
Yeah.
John Morell says Blackburn a funny side, never impressed by them when they've seen them. But they are uber clinical. Do not concede first. They do still have, at time of recording, Ben Brayton Diaz is still at the club because I think they're wanting £16 million for a man that's out of contract in the summer. Don't think they're going to get that. So he will still be playing on Saturday. Obviously, he's a danger man for them. Looking at us, Nick, we all sort of expected one of Barlasser and Chio to be gone by now.
We did, yeah.
They were both training today. We on the videos that the club released. They were both training. What do you do there? Because when they came on last week, they did not impress, and that's putting it kindly, unfortunately. So the question is, what do you do? Chio is maybe a different story because you lack in that area of the pitch. We're so short on strikers, you might have to play him anyway. Less so in the centre midfield if you didn't want to play Barlasser, but he's such a good player that it's difficult to not play him.
I don't understand why you wouldn't play him, to be honest. I mean, ultimately, they're Rotherham United players. Yes, they came on against Millwall and didn't impress, but nobody impressed. Nobody even came close to impressing. So that's a bit of a non-starter, really. We've got to forget about that Millwall game. The 2 of the best players that we've got, they start the game for me, and take it from there. Hopefully, they're going to commit to the game like they should do as professional players. We'll have to wait and see. But I wouldn't have any qualms about having them in there. No qualms at all.
Fair enough. Danny, were you on the same boat?
Comes me just I was taking a drink. Yeah, I would say because we are a little bit short up top with Eves and Kelly being out, I would say Chio is the more likely to be played of the 2, but we saw against Ipswich that Taylor's not afraid to put Dan on the bench with the whole Middlesbrough thing surrounding him. Yeah, I agree. I think out of the two, Dan is more likely to be on the bench, but we'll just have to wait and see what game we decide to play and if Dan gets a starting berth or if any of them get a starting berth.
Yeah. Jonathan Simpson says, will Matt Taylor decide not to have them in the squad and press on the players who will likely stay? Possibly. I mean, he is seeming like he could be hardline about it. I might be thinking he's too hardline, but we'll make.
You've got to accept that all this transfer talk and all this talk about them wanting to leave is all rumour. There's no basis for it whatsoever. There's nothing come out of the club. There's no suggestion that they don't want to play. It's all just made up. Ultimately, they've not performed particularly well in the last few games that they've played, but nobody's played particularly well. Nobody's performed well. So all we're doing here is compounding these social media rumours that they don't want to play. They're not professional enough to pull shirt on and put their all in. Nobody says that. Sorry, nobody can prove that. Nobody knows that. It's just rumour. That's all it is. I'm not saying there's no basis in it. What I'm saying is we don't know. Nobody knows.
And Matt Taylor has said today that we've rejected bids for them.
Yeah.
He didn't say which players, but we can put two
we're
and two together.
Assuming, we don't know, but we're assuming that that's the case. And it's a fair assumption to make, but we don't know. You know, they could be sat watching this now thinking, well, I'm well up for it. What are you on about?
Hi guys.
Scrolling through social media saying, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's very, very easy to jump on the back of somebody's stupid comment on Twitter or on Facebook or whatever and assume that that's a fact when there's no basis for it whatsoever. Brilliant.
Possibly, I think it's more to do with Matt Taylor saying they wouldn't sign the contracts as well.
But he didn't. Well,
Matt Taylor, we talked about it at the time, didn't we? It's a careless thing for him to say, probably.
Yeah. Well, we've been through that, haven't we?
We've been through that,
I got into trouble last time.
You did a little bit, yeah. Excuse me. Palmer UK says Big Ass they are too afraid of getting injured, put a shift in. John Wells says you can't play them. Sadly, football doesn't work. How you say, Mick, and you know it, they could be a negative impact on the team. And Phil says, of course, there's a basis. They haven't signed the new contracts.
I would agree with what John said there. There could be a negative influence on the team, but these are different. These are Paul Warne players. These are not those type of players that are going to down tools. That's a quid. I accept. Right. Say it again. These are Paul Warne players because I can only put 2 quid. I can't put the quid in. So they're not. Their personalities are not the type that necessarily are going to down tools. We've seen them. We've all had them at our clubs. Every club has had these sorts of players that will do that, no question. But I'm not convinced that these two are.
The issue potentially comes more subconsciously that if they think a move's on the horizon, they're going to be less likely to go in for a tackle or this, that, and the other. That's for me is more of an issue. Dan's been getting stuck in quite a lot this season. He's been much more aggressive on the ball and off the ball. If in back of his mind he's got something there, then that's a potential issue. Yeah. Again, I don't necessarily buy that they're going to down tools. I think Chio's an easy one to look at and say he's not trying, but that's just how Chio plays when he's up top. He's not playing any different in the last 3 weeks than he has done all season up top. I don't think he's any more or less lazy than he has been. I think people have been a bit harsh on Chio, to be honest. But that's where it is. Chio might be moved back out to the right-hand side. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see on Saturday. We don't know what formation we're going to see. Let's move on to that, Danny. What do you reckon with these players that we're bringing in? Could you see a change in the formation? He said that Yelder can play as essentially a left back and the left side of a 3. So he's maybe keeping his cards a bit close to his chest.
Yeah, I spoke to one of my mates who I was at uni with, who was a Leeds fan, and he couldn't speak higher of Yelder, and he even said he can play as a centre-back or as a left-back, and it's more or less quite an even split between where he plays. He can either play as not an out-and-out left-back, but just more on that left side, and then he's also played centrally as well. But I'm purely basing it off 3-5 seconds worth of training footage that we've seen. It was very left on that side. So I personally think he's going to be deployed as a left back, and potentially we might see a formation change. That's very. I know I just said yelled as a left-sided player, but that's very left field of me to go with a formation change, because I do like the 3-5-2, but I think we are going to shift to a 4 at the back potentially.
Interesting. What do you think? 4-4-2, 4-5-1?
Potentially 4-5-1. I think.
Yeah. Interesting. Mick, what do you think? Can you see? We're obviously speculating, but again, what does Matt Taylor want? What does he want from his players? What's the best? Without many centre backs, do we need to play 3 at back to play them?
I mean, you bear in mind we've signed 2 centre backs as we've been talking about. There's potential for possibly another player to come in before Saturday. Couple that with the performances over the past 5 or 6 games, which have been abject. Trying to come up with, we've got players who we're saying, or some people are saying, don't want to play anymore. They want to go out. We've got players who are injured. You might as well just throw all the names in a hat and pick 11 out, because it could be anybody. It could be absolutely anybody, couldn't it? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Who knows? Who knows? I think Matt Taylor is going to be in a position where he's so desperate to improve performances. Well, hopefully he's not, because that could then bring in wholesale changes that completely just sort of defeat the object. Really, it's a lottery. The only person who you can guarantee is going to be playing is Victor. And I just can't see. I wouldn't like to hazard a guess anywhere on the pitch, frankly.
Fair enough. John Rell says, surely you can't bring in 2 new defenders in off one training session. If midfielders, but you can't set the defence too much. Sean Morrison has been training since at least Wednesday, possibly Tuesday. And Yelder, to be honest with you, Yelder could have been training all week. His name has been talked about since the start of the week. At worst, his first training session was today. At best, it could have been Monday, but I think it was more like probably Wednesday, to be honest with you.
Bear in mind also that John's not seen our defence for the last few games.
John, if you've seen our defence, it can't get any worse. Yeah. Exactly. It can't get much worse. But this one, we'll have to wait and see. We just don't know. It's really interesting and see how we go. Let's move forward. Shelley says we can't play 1 up top. We never been able to do it. Wash or Chio aren't good enough on their own. That is true, Mick. I agree with that. There could be a striker in before Saturday. There is a name that's been linked, which we will maybe mention in a moment, which could shake things up, to be honest with you. But if it is Chio and Wash, what do you do? Because they have played together briefly, and it's been quite good. But it's tough because you take it away from somewhere. If you playing both, you're taking a midfielder away. You go 4-5-1, you're taking a defender away. You're taking away from somewhere if you do that.
You are, and if you're going to play those 2 in whatever formation, whether it's a 2 up front or Chio in behind Wash or Wash in behind Chio, you've got to have a press. Got to have a press. You've got to give them some support, and you've got to win the ball back. And that is what we've not been doing. That's gone from the game completely, disappeared. The intensity that we had, and here I go again, don't I? But if you're going to play those 2 players up front, or even one of those 2 players up front, you've got to use that. You've got to press. You've got to be able to win the ball back high up the pitch. And otherwise, they're ineffective. You look at Connor Washington at Millwall, and he must have been absolutely furious when he came off that pitch. He must have been livid because he was running his socks off and getting no support from anybody at all. None at all. And these are simple issues that need to be addressed. You can buy as many centre backs as you want, but if you're not going to try and win the ball back until it's on your own 6-yard line, what's the point? you might as well not play anybody up front because you're never going to be up there. And if you are, you're going to have to carry the ball there. So I don't mean physically carry it in your hands. You know what I mean? You're going to have to have dribbled it up there. You're going to have, and so for me, Wash would probably be another one that would be one of the first names on sheet at the moment because he's clearly committed to the cause.
He was good against Ipswich and all. He was the only one that was good against Ipswich.
Yeah, but that's the type of bloke he is. So I don't know. It's so difficult. It's so difficult at the moment because for all the reasons that I've said, you know, we're just in an absolute shambles as far as tactically it appears, in a bit of a shambles. So I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know who's going to play where. I've got my boots polished.
John Morell says, and this is a good point, Danny, that if he makes wholesale changes and Blackburn stick 5 passes as an example, where do you go? Because you've brought in your players, you've chucked them in at deep end, and you've got spanked 5-0 or like 5-1 on telly. It's not the same time as Manchester Derby, so most people won't be watching rather against Blackburn. That's not the point. But it is a good point. It's a tough line he's got to walk here. Very tough line.
Yeah, it's a very thin tightrope, that line, isn't it? Like you say, if you go one way, it could be wholesale changes and Blackburn stick 5 passes. But if you go other way, it could be a clean sheet. You know, I mean, it might be why we all love football, the ifs and maybes and the uncertainty of some of it. But yeah, I do get the point Johnny's trying to make. Where does he turn next? He might have to just take it on chin and just go. Not had enough time with him, but I thought it was the better option. I think Matt Taylor would actually do that because he is very upfront and brutal at times with his comments, not just about himself, but about the players, like we saw post Millwall and such. Yeah, that's all I can say to that comment, John. I agree with it, and I see where you're coming from. But then, completely on the flip side, what if it goes the other way?
Yeah, what if we win?
Yeah,
and we get a start.
They're the scales, aren't they?
Yeah,
I think that's exactly what I was trying to say in a very, very long-winded way. You know, he can make all the changes he wants, but unless the fundamentals of the actual way we play change from what we've had, 5 will go past us potentially. Yeah. Quite nobody would be surprised.
If we concede 1, we'll concede 3. That's how it's been, and that's what we've got to stop. That's one of the key things we've got to stop. If we concede in the last month or so, if 1 goes in, that's it. Game's done.
Yeah, but we're playing in Championship, and if you keep giving the ball to the opposition, they're going to keep scoring.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just basic. It's just so basic. And all we've been doing is giving the ball to the opposition and not really bothered trying to win it back.
Yeah. But he's got that confidence thing as well, that he's got to arrest. Bringing these players in, it naturally freshens things up, doesn't it? Matt Taylor talked about purchasers bringing players in future, and he did mention that they could be putting transfer fees in front of clubs. So we've gone from having loans and freebies to now there is money to spend. I don't think it's £3 million, but there is money to go around for purchasers, and that's not including the money that we may end up getting for Barlaser and Chio. So that's certainly a positive step that there is room to manoeuvre in that transfer window. Sorry. Let's have a bit of answer. Let's just go through some players that we've seen mentioned over the last few days, because let's just get them out of the way, I suppose. I feel we're tiptoeing around them a little bit, to be honest with you. So let's just get them out of there. Any players you've heard linked within the last few days, except Leo Messi, I will take. We talked about the few on the last episode. Aidan Flint's been one mention. We had a few people in the comments mention Aidan Flint. I don't know if that's any closer. That's I think Matt Taylor did speak about that, actually, didn't he? Danny, am I right in saying Matt Taylor mentioned that to Paul Daly and the Advertiser? Or did I imagine that?
I don't think he mentioned Aidan Flint by name to the Advertiser. I know he is looking at options, and he's just said centre forwards are a bit of the harder one to bring in. I'm trying to wrap my brain. Did he say Aidan?
Tyler Blackett's turned us down.
Yeah, that was the name I mentioned. Tyler Blackett's turned us down to do whatever. And then we're still looking at centre forwards. I think that was the gist of what he said. And then the other bit was about Leo Yelder coming in, and now he's here. I have seen a few names thrown about. Connor Wickham. He said there's no interest there either. That was one of the first ones on the scene, and that one's been put down. And then there was the lad at is it Charlton? Odibaggio? Burton, sorry. There was him, and they said there was the initial interest, but I can't remember the team, but they've activated the 450k clause
Wigan
in his contract. Yep. So they've activated his clause, so he's probably going there. And Wigan's also got Blackett as well. Which is interesting. Apparently, from what Will's just said in the YouTube comments, he said Wigan's got Blackett.
Are they the new Sheffield Wednesday? If Rotherham are interested, go and sign.
I'm sure that's why they signed Edmonds Green. It was just to get what we can do, and now he's played 5 times.
He's gone back.
Yeah. You could see that Huddersfield strengthening their survival hopes as well. So they've got Reg there.
Scott High has officially gone back as well, which is good news for all involved. That's done, thankfully. Another name that's been mentioned today, which I think we'll just briefly touch on, is Coley Woodrow as a potential loanee. That could be an inspired signing, but again, there's not much on that. That could happen. It could not happen. Don't think he's had the best time at Luton. Lots of physicality, lots of goals for Barnsley. Let's wait and see on that one. That would be particularly exciting, to be honest with you, if that came through. But these are all rumours. Charlie McNeil, this one you mentioned, Danny. Did you mention it, Danny, or am I imagining that?
Yeah, I mentioned that one.
Yeah, is he a striker?
Yes, he is. I believe he's a centre forward as well. Who's already got a Europa League appearance this season, I think. Not really been in first team forward at Man United, as you can imagine. I think he's 19. But from what a few people who know the ins and outs of Man United have told me, he's been lethal at youth level, like Pele level lethal in whatever youth setup Man United's got. So he could be a very interesting one. Again, it's the whole thing of, do we get the experience and the youth coming in at once, similar to the defence, or do we take a punt on the youth and to back up the strikers that we've already got? So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Some people have told me McNeil's already signed. Some people have said it's a week away and we'll have to wait until after the Blackburn game or whatever. So I'm getting a lot of mixed stuff about Charlie McNeil, if I'm being honest. So I don't know what to make of it. But yeah, his name has been mentioned a fair bit.
Yeah. There's some exciting names. Harvey Kellogg mentioned Hugill and the West Brom striker. I think Kenneth is a Hall on his way out of West Brom. I've seen Hugill's name mentioned. I think he's at Norwich, I think, at the minute. He's been around. These are players that have been in and around, Mick. We don't know much about. I don't know. So I've just not come to you.
Yeah, no. Well, you can come to me. Yeah, I mean, it's the good thing is that we're clearly going to be active in this window. There's no doubt about it. And there was a worry from a lot of fans that we wouldn't be. So we're just coming up to the end of second week of the window, are we really? I guess. And there's another two and a bit weeks left to go. So it's positive. It is positive. It'd be great for us to drag a couple in on permanence. Actual paid for players, which might put a stop to some of this other nonsense as well. But we'll have to wait and see. But I'm confident in terms of Rob Scott's ability to pick a player and to pick a player that the manager wants. So he's already done that by the looks of it with the two that have come in. So if we can get 2 or 3 more of a similar sort of quality, we should be all right. We should be all right, assuming that the manager can get him actually playing football. That's the key to it, isn't it?
That's the key. Yeah. Russ Vernon says Carlin Grant is what his name is heard from West Brom. I think he's a striker as well. And
I've just been told Aidan Fleet was mentioned in the advertiser as a possible loan.
Yeah. We'll also have to wait and see. I mean, Well, Mick said this other day that I'm not sure if if it has been busy, the transfer window. It has. I don't know the stats to hand, but there's been almost as many loan signings already this window as there was last January in the Championship. It's been very fast moving. What that could mean is that because we've not got on the books right now, maybe our target's been taken up. There may be different targets later in the window that are available to us, but not available to other teams because they've already done their business. Like I said, we've got a free weekend at the end of the window now, with Sunderland game being off. So that gives a bit of flexibility in terms of there's less. Well, there's always a rush, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't think we'll be needing to trigger the emergency protocols for a record transfer, but we don't know. Let's wait and see.
Let's wait and see. I mean, by some miracle, we've had a signing announced on the day of the podcast. Like,
Brilliant.
Yes,
Finally happened.
Get in. We still have to wait until we're actually live to get a signing announced. So there's still time this window. That's all I'm saying. There's still
Shall
time.
I check Twitter? I'll check. No, nobody's signed.
I really want that on the last day. If we do end up doing a show on the final day, just to be sat here and just like, right, we're into last hour. Oh, imagine. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. If we think we're going to be busy on deadline day, we'll probably do a deadline day episode. But we'll wait. We ain't got a game against Sunderland, have we?
Yeah.
We may save that episode and do a deadline day special. That's 2 weeks away. 3 weeks
Imagine if we got a deadline day special live from New York Stadium. Oh, I might faint. That'd be incredible.
I don't know what strings you've got. You think we've got as a podcast?
All I'm saying, if that somehow happens, that is one thing off my bucket list.
Listen,
ticked off. You know what I mean,
Danny? If you're going to do a live deadline day special outside New York Stadium, I'm going to be bloke behind you waving things behind your head, mate.
I'll probably security come out and go, "Excuse me, pal, what are you doing here with that camera?" No, nothing.
Yeah. We'll see. We record again Sunday. We may have another 2 signs to talk about. We may have 0. Let's wait and see. Let's do some predictions for the Blackburn game. Mick, kick us off. What do you think? Early kickoff, live on Sky.
I'm not positive. I need to see some improvement from the team and from the performances on the pitch before I'm going to start predicting any more victories at the moment. I think we're going to lose the game. I'm going to go 2-0. I'm going to be reasonably positive and say that we'll keep it as a 2-0 defeat. I'm basing that on the way that we've played.
Yeah.
The way that we've played recently, it's been woefully bad. It's been awful, dreadful. Some of the worst performance levels I can remember seeing for a long, long time from Rotherham United shirts.
And Mick's watched a lot of Rotherham United shirts. Danny?
Well, if I remember to hit record on Sky, we've never lost when I've done that. I'm going to go 0-0. I'm going to go very optimistic because if we do lose, I don't care because I'm out in the pubs after. But I'm going to say 0-0 and be vaguely positive.
I'm going to go very positive and I'm going to go 2-1 to Rotherham. I feel like I don't know. It's just got a bit of a recipe for a victory. We're fourth bottom against third top. If we've been in a terrible run of form, they've been okay. It just feels like it's got a bit of a recipe for a victory.
I'm sorry, Matt. I just have to check. I am actually drinking apple juice and not cider. Have you just said we're going to win 2-1?
Yeah.
Good grief.
No, we'll see. We won last time on Sky. We won all those games on Sky this season. Huddersfield. Have we been on Sky any more times?
Sheffield United.
No,
was that
on
Sky? No, that was on Sky. Stoke,
Huddersfield. We drew against Borough, didn't we? So we're unbeaten.
Yeah.
1, 2 out of 3, which is obviously not bad. So yeah, I fancy it. Harvey Kelwick says 1-1. Russ Verners with me says 2-1 to the Millers. Phil Oxley says 1-1. John Morrell says 3-1 to Blackburn. Mike the Miller says 1-2 to Blackburn. Steve Winner says 2-0 to Blackburn. Carl Scott says 1-1. Tim Cowd 1-0 to the Millers. Poundwood UK says he's being optimistic and says 2-2. Reg IOC says 2-1 to the Millers. Got a feeling about it. Yeah. I have as well. Don't know why. Can't explain it. Just sometimes I get these feelings in football.
All I know is one thing's for sure. However many goals are scored in that game, I'm buying that many shots at the High House after.
I think how many goals the opposition you concede, you need to double it.
Okay, yeah, I can do that.
So it's 5-2. You've got to buy 12.
Oh, good grief. Okay.
Finally, we've now got a Norwegian player. We've obviously got a Swedish player, and we've got an Icelandic player. We've almost completed Scandinavia. Have we ever had a player from Finland play for the club to complete that area of the world?
You missed one off there, Matt. Have we had a Danish player?
Iverson.
Oh, yeah.
So
have we ever had one from Finland? Good grief.
I know we were linked with Fawcett somewhere, weren't we? Which never got put through. So that's something to, if anybody knows, if we had any Finnish players, we had a lot of finished players play for us. Yeah. Let us know if you can think of any. Let us know. I don't think there is any. Gisbert Boss, Phil Oxley was Dutch, Mick.
He's Dutch, wasn't he? Yeah. And let's be fair, he never actually played for us, did he? I mean, he wandered about on pitch occasionally and ball hit him once or twice, but he didn't actually play as such.
Yeah.
Have we ever had a Norwegian player before, Yelda?
I don't think so. No.
Mm-hmm.
Joel Ekstrand says I think he was Swedish. As it turns out, Victor wasn't our first Swede. I don't think. I'm going to check that for you. What was his name again? Ekstrand.
Drum roll, please.
Swedish. Yeah, he was Swedish. So Victor wasn't our first Swede, unfortunately.
Best though.
The best so far. Yeah. If anybody can think of any, let us know. I don't think I'm pretty certain there isn't any.
I know there is. Phil Oxley's got it. He's nailed it.
Richard Finland.
Oh, I saw that at the same time as you, mate. That was brilliant, man.
Very good.
Nailed it, Phil. Nailed it, mate.
Very good. Right, we'll end it there before any more puns come in. Thank you for being involved with us tonight and listening to the episode. We do appreciate you being with us. If you haven't already, please subscribe on the YouTube page. We're nearly 850, or unless we want to get 900 before the end of the season, if we can. That would be very, very nice. If you're listening audially, please subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, and make sure you're giving us a 5-star rating as well, because we've got plenty on there, and the numbers on there have gone up massively recently. So thank you, everybody who was joining the journey of being a Rotherham fan and joining in the therapy that is New York Talk. It's been fun. Mick, it's been great to have you back. No Mick rant. I suspect that'll come on Sunday.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, I'm calm now.
Okay.
Week off and it's chilled me out.
Okay. We are going to do the post-match instant reaction. If you want to be on the instant reaction at New York Stadium, get in touch. We'll tell you where to meet us, and you can come and spend 10 minutes talking to us about your reaction to the game post-match, and we'll stick it up that'll be up on the YouTube channel at some point on Saturday afternoon. Once we're obviously back from Danny will be in the pub, so I'll do it. Danny, been a pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much, and I'll see you Saturday.
Yeah, always a pleasure, lads. I'm going to be applying for my honorary degree in psychology for being part of 100 people plus therapy every week. I mean, we've got celebrity endorsement. Even Howard Webb says this is a good therapy session. So thank you to everybody who subscribed and sticking with us.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. And we'll see you on Sunday for the next episode. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant! Mule with it, Wood's got around the back, and Richie Wood has done it again! The magic man has come up with another trick! Well, here's a chance to seal it, it's done!